Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. So we're in the second week of the waxing moon cycle, and the end of the week we're going to have the full moon. So I'm going to talk a bit about how we can maximize this kind of doing time as we're gathering to make the most out of the energies at hand. Monday the 25th, that's Memorial Day in the United States. The times I give are Eastern times, so you adjust depending on where you are. Basically, one of the things that's occurring in this early morning hours are the moon is void of course. And what that means, for those who don't regularly listen or know, the moon void of course means that as it's traveling through the sky, it's no longer making a geometric aspect to another heavenly body from our perspective here on Earth. So what happens when the moon, which is indicative of the mood of the day, is not connecting to another energy, basically a lot of people may feel like there's no investment and follow through, because what makes the most sales when we're trying to get an idea across or engage people is if they're emotionally invested, if they feel like there's a reason why they're acting on a suggestion, an invitation, an idea, a date, a concept. We are much more apt to follow through, take action, engage, if we feel emotionally involved with it. Now, of course, during the void of course, if that void moon is making an aspect to your personal horoscope, you may be feeling differently than most of the other people in the room. But it's just good to keep that in mind, because we don't necessarily want to start something, make an overture, make a cold call, which actually wouldn't most likely be something we would do in the early morning hours, but we might, depending on what the outcome is that we wish. The moon enters the sign of Libra as of 10:34 a.m. on Monday the 25th, Eastern time. And once that occurs, then we are energized in a way that has to do with, in my language, air matters. So air is the element, 4 elements in astrology that spring back to ancient physics, Greek physics, earth, air, fire, water. And air is about verbal communication, ideas, things that we communicate in a way that stimulates and engages verbally. Now, you can be doing that even if you're communicating with someone and neither of you speak the same language, because maybe you're communicating with your hands, or you're selling an idea or something you're very excited about through a way that is able to communicate and engage and stimulate, that has to do with, yes, verbal communication, but also the transference of ideas. And in Libra, one of the things that's emphasized, well, there's many things that are emphasized, but certainly negotiation, mediation, presenting things in a balanced way, looking for reciprocity so that people are able to respond and communicate in a way that's heard. one of the things that goes on as we're doing this exchange is throughout the day or throughout the conversation, we may encounter some confusion or some differences of opinions in how people are imagining it or thinking that the possible outcome may look at. One of the things that's super important on this day, and as we go into the next day, Tuesday, the 26th, is we're aiming to winnow down, limit, make choices so that people aren't spread thin all over the place. And this is challenging because as this moon travels through the sky, it basically wants to, it dances it at one point with Neptune and saying, but I imagine this, and this is a possibility, or I'm feeling as though I'm not being heard. That's one of the, I mean, Neptune carries the spectrum with a sense of feeling cast out, sacrificed, victimized, not being heard. It carries that arc all the way to artist, creative voice, singer, person who's able to share ideas in visual or ways that are transmitted through sound, and up to the final arc, which has to do with being able to save a situation or bring in ultimate light and spiritual connection. So as the moon is traveling through the sky, we can encounter these kind of varying impressions of what the discussion, outcome, desired conversation is bringing about. So the important thing, if you're engaged in a conversation or want something to occur over the course of Monday into Tuesday, early Wednesday morning, is that all voices are heard and communication carries a sense of let's complete the idea. Let's make sure we balance and compromise and bring all the voices in the room. Now, the other thing to mention on this day, on Monday, is that there is a picture in the sky that just in Eastern time, again, it happens a little just around midnight on the 25th into the wee hours of the 26th, and that's the Mars square Pluto picture. Now, Mars square Pluto is a incredibly dynamic geometric configuration because what's happening is Mars, which is desire, what we're going after, anger to some degree. It's an assertive, at times aggressive energy because it wants to get its idea, vision across. And Pluto is about ultimate transformation. And these two planets, when they are engaged in, well, in this case, a square, so it's kind of back and forth. I want this, you want that, buying forces. And it can be kind of an underground message that comes in as people work on getting the resolution they choose. What's important to realize, especially if one of us during this transit has Mars Pluto, and especially a challenging aspect in your horoscope, is that you can be very triggered by what's going on if you're in a discussion or what seems like different points of view or a power struggle. And what's super important with this is clarity. Make sure you understand wherever frustration or a need to win is coming from. Because to do things in an underground, manipulative, or way that is trying to succeed by undermining the absolute goal is going to separate, fracture, and dilute whatever the desired outcome may be. The beauty in this is uh, if one is conscious and seeing how it's all playing out, one can keep introducing new thought, new ways of seeing, because ultimately what can happen is that sense of what is the justice? What is the overall goal? And it may well be that there is no direct resolution over these couple of days for whatever the discussion or the desired outcome is. The important thing is to make sure that people are being heard, that you're understanding everything that is being presented and getting a sense of what's at stake, what is the desired ultimate outcome, and if compromise can still occur with a sense of, well, maybe we begin here instead of all the stakes on the line so that it becomes an all or nothing thing. The beauty of the moon being in Libra over these couple of days is to weigh potential outcomes, bring more information into the conversation, and maybe lay out all the potential choices, because this may not be the ideal time to make the choice. That may come up in a couple of days, depending on, if this is a fast decision, what movie shall we see, or if it's something that has much more investment and need to work out over time. The moon goes void, of course, at 7:32 a.m. on Wednesday, the 27th, and it doesn't enter the next sign, Scorpio, until 8:53 p.m. So this is basically, for Eastern time people, basically a void of course moon all day, all the work day. So it is best utilized by working in things already in motion. If you are having a discussion, trying to lay things out and understand course of action going forward, it's a very good time to delineate, put this stuff on paper so that everybody can see, okay, this is where we're going and what it might look like. Storyboard it out, put it out in a way where there's pros and cons and understanding of everything. Or it could just be you're getting things in order, doing something that brings more beauty and light into your space. If it's a day off or a day where you can just enjoy, then put yourself in a situation where you're absorbing something cultural, uplifting, stimulating, not necessarily a thing that requires you to weigh in and make a decision at that point in time. Once the moon enters the sign of Scorpio in the later evening on this day, then we're in the real power juice of the week. And depending on your energy, what you're doing, or where you are, you may not want to put the strength in it in the evening, just rest, recharge. Scorpio is great for therapeutic things, for doing more research, for digging into something, for working on things that require attention and focus. The next day, the 28th into the 29th, these are days that are tremendous for real intimate discussion, laying everything down on the line, knowing where the money's going, having the deep dive conversations. So, depending on what's going on, as you can hear, the beginning of the week may have been a lot about what's the information, how does everybody feel, where are we going with this? And then Thursday, Friday are who's in, who's invested in this? Where are we going with this? And the absolute richness of people coming together in ways that are profoundly focused is tremendous, powerful energy. So it may just be something you're doing yourself. It may be a project that you've been wanting to put energy and concentration and focus in that starts to really come together Thursday, Friday. It may not be crystallized yet. It may be something that you're just continuing to feel the space in. Again, if it's something that's therapeutic, it might be things you're working on with your health, your body. It can be things you're working with in your emotional health. That's very huge with Scorpio energy, or psychological health. It's really, I think these 2 days are they're days that can give us a lot if we're willing to do the work and pay attention to what must be said. The early morning on Thursday can feel a little rough for some people. I mean, we may, depending on your astrology, what your horoscope is, where these planets are traveling, you may feel a little raw first thing in the morning. Baby yourself, be kind to yourself. Um, there's a late morning on Thursday. Some people may be kind of frustrated or angry or easy to kind of fire off. Again, these are very passing transits, and when we're paying attention, listening, checking in with ourselves, we can auto-correct a lot faster than if we're just kind of letting life happen to us. And that's the beauty of paying attention to the astrological weather, because we can know, okay, this is what's going on at this point in time. I don't want to engage. I don't want to get into a fight. I'm just going to wait until things chill and calm down a bit. And they will. By the time we get to later in the morning, noontime, midday, much more even, focused energy. And it can be very rich, lots of, or just all you really need is one really deep, wonderful connection, either just with self-love or another person who you reach out and feel that really wonderful connection to. Creative, deeply creative afternoon into the evening. Now, in the late evening, going into almost the next day, we have a Venus-Saturn picture in the sky that's a little stressful. So if you're a person who's kind of a perfectionist with yourself, ease into your evening sleep hours, just doing gratitude work, thinking about things that went well in the day, or if it feels like nothing went well in the day, just thinking about things that you do have appreciation for. It can be very, very simple, like a nice cup of tea, a smile from the person that you bought coffee from, whatever it may be, but just the simple graces that make us enjoy and appreciate our days. Light on a tree, the things that lift us. And these are good to acknowledge as we slip into the dream world, the healing space of sleep. May 29th, moon in the sign of Scorpio all day. It goes void, of course, at 8:05 p.m. And once again, I see this as a super productive day for wherever you want to put your focus, especially when you open up to possibilities that are beyond what you necessarily see. Because when we open up to possibilities that aren't necessarily in our immediate radar, the day can go a lot more with flow. Once the moon is void, of course, nice restorative evening for sleep leading into the weekend, which the moon enters Sagittarius 8:45 a.m. on Saturday the 30th. And this brings in, again, real productivity. It's different energetically because the moon in Scorpio is a water moon. It's what we call fixed. It's very focused. One can even say stubborn at times, dog with a bone energy. It wants to follow through with whatever the task may be at hand. And that's why it's so important to move through whatever might be little clouds in the sky or things that feel like, oh, that got in my way, or that's something I am frustrated by or resent. Those are things that you want to pass through, because when we're able to pass through them, we shed ourselves of layers that get into our way. Once the moon is in Sagittarius, it's a fire moon, it's mutable. Things burn off much more quickly. And again, these things have different effects on us depending on the makeup of our personal horoscope and where the moon is traveling. But nonetheless, that is the purity of the moon in Sag. And as it travels through the sky on Saturday into early morning Sunday, it is very directed energy. It can get a little detoured, especially midday on Saturday into early afternoon. It can be, whoa, look at that. And that can be an inspiration. It can be something that seemingly comes out of the blue that offers a new way of doing things. We can take a tangent. We can kind of go into that space, or we can decide, this is just going to derail me. I'm going to sidestep this and go in the direction I wanted to go. Your choice based on what's presented to you, absolutely. But overall, Saturday can be a very inspired day, a day that feels I'm excited about this, I'm going for that. And it can be a wonderful day to be in nature, to be stimulated by new ideas, new foods, world music, like things that really kind of bring you out of your daily life into new ways of seeing and being. Sunday the 31st is when the full moon actually is exact, and that happens at 4:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And then the moon goes void, of course, at 9:21 a.m. Eastern Time. And then the moon is void all day in the sign of Sagittarius. Absolutely terrific day to play. If you can have the luxury of doing that, it's an absolutely terrific day to do it, because the moon in Sag, when it's void, of course, it's like shooting an arrow and you don't know where it's going to land. So it might be better to keep the mole in the quiver and just enjoy the possibilities. Oh, look at that. Let's go here. Let's do that. Uh, Wonderful day if you can be in nature, if the weather allows you to, or to just explore ideas, foreign movies, things that stimulate your brain in ways that have to do with, ooh, that's cool, that's cool. Museum of Natural History, things that are just opening you up in ways that have to do with the way other people live, the way they share food, colors, fabrics. The world can be super, super like a place to travel, whether just in your armchair or actually experience on Sunday the 31st. And that full moon that occurs earlier that day, it basically is engaging us with how do we communicate? How do we share ideas that really touch the core of what it is we feel or we stretch towards to make ourselves more knowledgeable, more connected, more vital, and more in the world as a person who has expression and a desire to connect to the bigger world. And as I said, it can be in the armchair, it can be meditating in a sacred space or just in the quiet of your home or garden, and or it can be dancing, connecting, enjoying the rich possibilities of being alive and being a person who can strike a conversation, an idea, and be stimulated by things that are active and around us.
You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.